The desperate call. The last hope signal. Commander Sarah Chen stared at the tactical display with growing dread. The red dots representing the raider fleet moved steadily toward Kepler Station, their formation perfect and their intent unmistakable. In less than 18 hours they would arrive to strip the mining colony of everything valuable, including the lives of its 12,000 inhabitants. Still no response from Confederation Command, reported Lieutenant Vex, his blue scaled, hands trembling as he worked the communications console. The Altarian officer had served on 3 different colonies, but nothing had prepared him for this level of isolation. They acknowledge our distress signal, but classify our situation as non-critical due to our remote location. Sarah felt her jaw clench. Non-critical. 12,000 lives from 7 different species, and the Galactic Confederation deemed them non-critical because Kepler Station sat at the edge of civilized space, far from the core worlds that mattered. To politicians and bureaucrats, "What about the mining corporation?" asked Dr. Elena Vasquez, the station's chief medical officer. Her dark eyes reflected the same fear that had gripped everyone since the raider fleet's detection. "Surely they'll send help to protect their investment." Kepler Mining Consortium has already written us off, Sarah replied, her voice bitter. They've activated their insurance policies and are prepared to build a new facility elsewhere. Apparently it's more cost-effective than mounting a defense. The command center fell silent, except for the steady hum of life support systems. Through the reinforced windows, Sarah could see the massive mining platforms that had brought prosperity to this corner of space. The asteroid field surrounding Kepler Station contained rare minerals essential for faster-than-light travel, making it incredibly valuable. That same value had attracted the attention of the Scaran Raiders, a notorious pirate organization that had terrorized the outer colonies for decades. "Commander," came a voice from behind her. Sarah turned to see Captain Jorik, the station's security chief. The Centaurian's normally steady demeanor showed cracks of strain. "We've completed the evacuation planning. Our transport ships can carry maybe 3,000 people, but that means leaving 9,000 behind." Sarah closed her eyes, feeling the weight of command crushing down on her shoulders. As the highest-ranking officer on Kepler Station, the responsibility for these lives rested with her. The Confederation had promoted her to this position because of her exemplary service record, but nothing in her training had prepared her for choosing who lived and who died. "Prioritize families with children and essential personnel," she ordered, hating every word. "Medical staff, engineers, anyone we'll need if we manage to establish a refugee camp somewhere." "What about defensive preparations?" Jorik asked. "We have some weapons, mining equipment that could be converted." "Against a Scaran battle fleet?" Sarah shook her head. "We might as well throw rocks at them. Our best hope is to get as many people out as possible before they arrive." As the senior staff dispersed to begin the impossible task of organizing a partial evacuation, Sarah remained at the tactical display. She studied the approaching raiders, counting their ships and estimating their firepower. 37 vessels, including 3 heavy cruisers and a dozen destroyers. The Scaran were efficient killers, and they would show no mercy to those left behind. A soft chime from the communications console drew her attention. Lieutenant Vex looked up with confusion. "Commander, I'm receiving a transmission on an old emergency frequency. It's coming from the Sol system." Sarah frowned. Sol was the human homeworld, located nearly 40 light-years away. She had served alongside humans in the Confederation Navy and found them to be competent officers, though their species was still relatively new to galactic politics. Earth had only joined the Confederation 30 years ago, and most species still viewed humans as primitive newcomers from a dangerous world. "Put it through," she ordered. The voice that filled the command center was crisp and professional, with the distinctive accent of Earth's Northern American continent. "Kepler Station, this is Admiral Marcus Stone of the Earth Defense Force. We received your distress signal and are responding. Please confirm your situation and prepare to receive military assistance." Sarah exchanged glances with her officers. "Military assistance? From Earth?" "Admiral Stone, this is Commander Chen. We appreciate your response, but I'm not sure you understand our situation. We're facing a Scaran raider fleet of 37 ships. This isn't something that can be handled with a few patrol vessels. Commander Chen, we understand completely. The Skarn have been operating in this sector for too long. It's time someone taught them that attacking civilian colonies has consequences. Admiral, with respect, Earth doesn't have the military capability to face the Skarn. Your homeworld is classified as a death world, which means your people are tough, but the Skarn have been raiding for centuries. They know how to fight. There was a pause before the Admiral responded, and Sarah could have sworn she heard amusement in his voice. Commander, you're absolutely right. Earth is a death world, and that's exactly why you should be confident in our response. We evolved fighting for survival every single day. Predators, natural disasters, disease, war, our entire history is about overcoming impossible odds. I don't understand, Sarah admitted. What exactly are you sending? The 3rd Fleet, Commander, 45 ships, including our newest battlecruisers, will be dropping out of hyperspace in your system in approximately 16 hours. Sarah felt her heart skip. 45 ships? Earth had built a fleet that size without anyone in the Confederation knowing about it. Admiral, that's more ships than most core worlds possess. How did Earth construct such a fleet? We've been busy, Commander. When you come from a world that's constantly trying to kill you, you learn to be prepared for anything. The Confederation may see us as newcomers, but we've been fighting wars since before we discovered fire. We know how to protect our own, but we're not human, Sarah pointed out. Most of our colonists are Altarian, Centaurian, and vegan. Why would Earth risk a fleet battle for non-humans? The Admiral's response came without hesitation. Because you sent a distress call, and we received it. That makes you our responsibility. On Earth, we have a saying, no one fights alone. It doesn't matter what species you are or where you come from. If you're in trouble and we can help, we will. Dr. Vasquez stepped forward. Admiral, the Skarn are ruthless. They don't take prisoners, and they don't negotiate. If your fleet engages them, it will be a fight to the death. Doctor, I appreciate your concern, but you need to understand something about humans. We didn't climb to the top of our world's food chain by running away from fights. We got there by being more dangerous than anything that tried to kill us. The Skarn think they're apex predators? They're about to learn what real predators look like. Sarah found herself believing the Admiral's confidence, though she couldn't explain why. There was something in his voice, a certainty that spoke of experience with impossible situations. What do you need from us, Admiral? Detailed information about the Raider fleet's composition and approach vectors. Any intelligence you have about their tactics and capabilities, and Commander, stop the evacuation. Stop the evacuation? Sarah's voice rose. Admiral, if your fleet doesn't arrive in time, or if the battle goes badly, it won't, Stone interrupted. Commander Chen, I need you to trust me on this. The evacuation sends the wrong message to both your people and the Skarn. Your colonists need to see that someone is willing to fight for them, not just help them run away. And the Skarn need to understand that attacking civilian colonies will bring consequences they're not prepared for. Lieutenant Vex cleared his throat nervously. Admiral, the Skarn have never been defeated in open battle. They've been raiding for over 2 centuries. Then it's time their streak ended, Stone replied. Lieutenant, has your species ever fought humans before? No, sir. Earth only joined the Confederation recently, and humans mostly serve in exploration and scientific roles. That's about to change. Patch me through to your station-wide communication system. I want to address your colonists directly. Sarah hesitated for a moment, then nodded to Vex. The communication officer opened the channel that would broadcast throughout Kepler Station. Citizens of Kepler Station, this is Admiral Marcus Stone of the Earth Defense Force. I know you're afraid. I know you've been told that help isn't coming, that you're too far from the core worlds to matter. I'm here to tell you that's wrong. Every life matters. Every person calling for help deserves an answer. In 16 hours, the 3rd Fleet of Earth's Navy will arrive in your system. We're not coming to evacuate you. We're not coming to negotiate with pirates. We're coming to fight, and we're coming to win. The Admiral's voice carried throughout the station, reaching every corridor, every habitat, every workplace. Sarah could imagine the effect his words were having on the colonists who had spent days preparing for death or displacement. The Skarn raiders have terrorized this sector for too long. They've attacked civilians, destroyed colonies, and murdered innocents while the galaxy stood by and did nothing. That ends today. To the Skarn fleet approaching your system, you have chosen to threaten people under the protection of Earth. You have made a mistake that will cost you everything. To the SOS colonists of Kepler Station, hold fast. Help is coming, and it's bringing enough firepower to end this threat permanently. As the transmission ended, Sarah realized that something had changed in the command center. The despair that had hung over them like a shroud was lifting, replaced by something she hadn't felt in days. Hope. "Admiral," she said, "we'll transmit all our tactical data immediately. And Admiral, thank you." "Don't thank me yet, Commander. Thank me after we've sent the Skarn running with their tails between their legs. Stone out." As the communication channel closed, Sarah looked around at her officers. The fear was still there, but it was mixed with anticipation now. Earth's Admiral had promised them a fight, and somehow, she believed he would deliver. When Deathworlders answer the call, the fleet arrives exactly 16 hours later. Space around Kepler Station erupted with the distinctive energy signatures of ships dropping out of hyperspace. Sarah Chen stood in the command center, watching the tactical display populate with friendly contacts. One by one, Earth's Third Fleet materialized in perfect formation, their arrival precisely timed and executed. 45 ships confirmed, Lieutenant Vex reported, his voice filled with awe. "Commander, I've never seen vessels like these." Sarah had to agree. The human ships were unlike anything in the Confederation fleet, where most species built elegant, artistic vessels that reflected their cultural aesthetics. The Earth ships were pure function over form. They looked like what they were, weapons of war designed by a species that understood violence intimately. The flagship was a massive battlecruiser nearly 2 kilometers long, its hull bristling with weapon systems and defensive arrays. Smaller, destroyers and cruisers flanked it in a formation that spoke of tactical precision. These weren't exploration vessels hastily converted for military use. These were purpose-built warships constructed by a civilization that took warfare seriously. Kepler Station, this is Admiral Stone aboard the EDF Retribution. We're taking position between your station and the approaching raider fleet. Please, evacuate all civilian traffic from the projected battle zone. Admiral, this is Commander Chen. Your fleet is impressive. I had no idea Earth possessed such military capability. Most of the galaxy doesn't, Commander. We found it useful to keep some capabilities quiet while we learned about our new neighbors. The Confederation classifies Earth as a death world because our planet is hostile to most forms of life. What they don't fully understand is that surviving on a death world requires more than just physical toughness. It requires tactical thinking, adaptability, and the willingness to do whatever it takes to protect your own. Dr. Vasquez joined Sarah at the display. Admiral, our sensors show the Skarn fleet will arrive in approximately 2 hours. They're maintaining their standard formation. Heavy ships in the center, fast raiders on the flanks. Thank you, Doctor. We've been studying Skarn tactics for months. They rely on intimidation and overwhelming force against civilian targets. They're not accustomed to facing organized military resistance. Captain Jorik stepped forward. Admiral, I've fought the Skarn before. They show no mercy and take no prisoners. This will be a battle of extermination. Captain, I appreciate the warning, but you need to understand something about human military doctrine. We don't fight to send messages or claim territory. When humans go to war, we fight to win completely and permanently. The Skarn want a battle of extermination. They'll get one. As the hours passed, Sarah watched the human fleet prepare for battle. Their movements were coordinated and professional, each ship taking its assigned position in a formation that maximized their firepower while providing mutual support. She noticed that the human vessels were positioned not just to engage the raiders, but to prevent any from escaping. Commander, Admiral Stone's voice came through the communication system. I'm transmitting our battle plan to your tactical officer. I want your people to understand what's about to happen. The display, updated to show the projected engagement. The human fleet had arranged itself in a formation Sarah didn't recognize, with the heavy battle cruisers forming the center, and the smaller vessels spread in a pattern that seemed to leave gaps in their defense. Admiral, your formation has several apparent weaknesses. The Skarn will try to exploit those gaps. That's exactly what we want them to do, Commander. Those aren't weaknesses, they're traps. When the Skarn move to exploit what they think are vulnerable positions, they'll find themselves in carefully prepared kill zones. Lieutenant Vex looked up from his sensor station. Commander, the Raider fleet is dropping out of hyperspace now. 37 ships, just as predicted. On the main display, the Skarn fleet appeared at the edge of the system. Their ships were organic-looking, grown rather than built, with sweeping curves and biomechanical systems that made them appear almost alive. For centuries, these vessels had been the terror of the outer colonies. A communication channel opened and a harsh, guttural voice filled the command center. Human vessels, you are interfering with a Skarn salvage operation. Withdraw immediately or be destroyed. Admiral, Stone's response was calm and measured. Skarn fleet, you are threatening a civilian colony under the protection of Earth. You have one opportunity to withdraw from this system and never return. If you refuse, we will consider your presence an act of war. The Skarn commander's laughter was like breaking glass. Humans, we have heard of your species. Deathworlders who think they are warriors. We have destroyed 1,000 colonies and killed 1 million beings. What can primitives from one backwater planet do against the might of the Skarn Empire? You're about to find out, Stone replied. All ships weapons free. Commence Operation Deathworld. The battle began with a display of firepower that left Sarah speechless. The human ships opened fire simultaneously, their weapon systems unleashing destruction on a scale she had never witnessed. Kinetic projectiles traveling at significant fractions of light speed struck the Skarn formation before the Raiders could react. Energy weapons that made Confederation military lasers look like toys carved through biomechanical hulls. But what impressed Sarah most wasn't the raw power of the human weapons. It was the precision with which they were employed. Every shot was calculated, every targeting solution perfect. The humans weren't just attacking. They were systematically dismantling the Raider fleet with surgical precision. The Skarn responded as Admiral Stone had predicted, attempting to exploit the apparent gaps in the human formation. Raiders broke off from the main fleet and dove toward what they thought were vulnerable positions, only to find themselves caught in crossfires from multiple human vessels. The gaps in the formation were actually overlapping fields of fire that created inescapable kill zones. Remarkable, Dr. Vasquez breathed. They're not just winning, they're controlling every aspect of the battle. This is what happens when a species that evolved fighting predators applies that experience to space warfare, Sarah observed. They're not just trying to defeat the Skarn, they're hunting them. The battle raged for less than an hour. When it ended, 31 Skarn vessels had been destroyed, and 6 more were disabled and being boarded by human marines. Not a single Earth ship had been lost, and only 2 had suffered minor damage. Admiral Stone's voice filled the command center once more. Kepler Station, this is Admiral Stone. The Raider threat has been eliminated. We're transmitting the locations of disabled Skarn vessels to Confederation authorities for investigation. These pirates won't be threatening any more colonies. Sarah found her voice at last. Admiral, that was incredible. I've never seen anything like it. Commander, that's the difference between species that evolved in safe environments and those that came from Deathworlds. We don't fight fair and we don't fight for sport. We fight to protect what matters and we fight to win. Dr. Vasquez stepped forward. Admiral, on behalf of all the colonists here, thank you. You've saved 12,000 lives today. Doctor, we didn't save your lives. We secured your freedom. There's a difference. Saving lives implies you were helpless victims. You're not. You're citizens of the galaxy who deserved protection, and you got it. As the human fleet began recovery operations, Sarah realized that something fundamental had changed. The galaxy had seen humans as newcomers, as primitives from a dangerous world who were lucky to be admitted to galactic civilization. Today had shown that perception was dangerously wrong. Admiral, she said, Will Earth be taking a more active role in sector security? Commander, Earth has always been committed to protecting innocent life. The difference is that now everyone knows we have the capability to back up that commitment. The Skarn weren't the only pirates operating in this region. Word of today's battle will spread, and other raiders will have to decide whether attacking civilian colonies is worth facing. The Earth Defense Force. As the communication ended, Sarah looked out at the debris field that had once been a feared raider fleet. The colonists of Kepler Station were safe, but more than that, they had witnessed the emergence of a new power in the galaxy. The humans had answered a desperate call for help with overwhelming force and absolute commitment. The Deathworlders had kept their promise. They hadn't sent aid. They had sent a fleet, and they had sent a message that would resonate throughout the galaxy. Earth's children were under protection, and anyone who threatened innocent life would face the consequences of challenging a species that had survived by being more dangerous than anything that tried to kill them. In the days that followed, as news of the battle spread, the galaxy began to understand that humanity's classification as a Deathworld species meant more than just physical resilience. It meant they brought the ruthless efficiency of apex predators to the defense of those who couldn't defend themselves. The age of human military power had begun, and it had started with a simple principle. When someone calls for help, you answer. And when Deathworlders answer, they don't just send aid, they send victory.